Hello and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Nina Passanante and I'm going to be moderating today's session. Joining me is Tangent's Power BI specialist, Parker Stevens, who has been instrumental in helping many of our clients take their extensive, often unorganized data and creating compelling visual reports. Today's webinar is all about Power BI and how emergency services can leverage it to make data-driven decisions. Having the right tool in place that takes all of your data and turns it into a compelling visual graph, report, or dashboard is crucial for many organizations, especially emergency services. Being able to quickly look at a continuously updated graph means you spend less time trying to sort out spreadsheets upon spreadsheets of numbers and more time focusing on protecting your community. So, whether you're trying to report on incident response times, review departmental budgets and resources, or analyze organizational efficiencies, Power BI helps you aggregate all of that data and display it in a simplified format. Tangent is really excited to offer support and training on Power BI, in addition to helping you build out your reports. Today, we'll give you a quick glimpse into what you can do with the platform, with tips, tricks, and insights that you can implement immediately. With that said, I'll hand it over to you, Parker.
Thanks, Nina, and thanks everyone for joining this webinar. We're going to be talking about how emergency service organizations can extinguish bad data to make quick data-driven decisions with Power BI. So we're going to go through a quick slideshow, a few slides, and then we're going to dive into a few demos to help you understand why Power BI might be useful for your organization. So just a little bit about me. My name is Parker Stevens. I'm the Power BI specialist here at Tangent. I'm also a Microsoft Data Platform MVP and certified in Power BI reporting. And I also run the BI Elite YouTube channel where I teach fun Power BI and DAX tips and tricks. So with that, we'll go ahead and dive into what exactly is Power BI and why you might want to use it. So Power BI is a cloud-based business analytics offering that allows you to connect to data and visualize data effectively and share those reports and dashboards with other members of your organization. So it provides seamless connections to various data sources, many different Excel files, databases, pretty much anything you need to connect to grab your data. Power BI can do that. And then it also allows you to clean your data and model your data to make sure that your data model is in line and that all your visualizations can interact with each other. It provides really top tier data visualization abilities as well. As you can see on the screen, there are a lot of nice looking visualizations that you can add to your dashboards. And then finally, you're able to share your reports and dashboards that you create with specific members of your organization or your entire organization if you'd like to do that. The first step to developing a Power BI report that your organization will like to use is connecting to that data. Whether or not your data source is a database or a legacy system, Power BI will be able to connect to it with one of its built-in data connectors. As you can see on the left, there are a bunch of Power BI built-in data connectors available to you out of the box. For example, you'll see Excel files, flat files like text and CSVs, multiple different kinds of databases or other online data sources as well. And if your specific data source isn't available in the built-in connectors, you can connect to data sources by making an ODBC connection or by building a custom connector to kind of package that solution to be able to reach out and connect to your data or legacy system and bring that data into Power BI to be used to visualize and create those Power BI reports and dashboards. Once you bring that data into Power BI, Power BI also gives you really robust tools to clean and model your data. In case your data is a little bit messy, maybe it's coming in from an Excel file with not very structured data types, you can mash it up and make that data look exactly like you want it and put it in a presentable format to be used in Power BI. And then you can create relationships between multiple tables in case you're bringing in multiple files or you have multiple tables in your database and you'd like to make relationships between tables to allow your visuals to interact with each other and filter each other down. And then finally, once you build the data model and do all the hard work on the back end, you have the ability to publish up that data model up to a Power BI web service to be used by the rest of your organization. So your IT department can build one Power BI solution and end users can just connect to that solution and then straight visualize the data as opposed to building that back end themselves. And then once you have all that data modeling and data transformation all done, you can visualize that data very effectively with Power BI. It comes with a bunch of out-of-the-box visuals that are very visually appealing. As you can see, this is an example of a dashboard that Microsoft has recently put out about COVID-19 data. And you can see that it looks very nice and it presents a very nice picture of the data that it's showing. It also provides a lot of nice mapping options directly within Power BI. There are multiple different maps that you have to choose from. So in case you have some geospatial data, as we're going to be talking about today, as far as fire department data goes, you might want to visualize that data happening across a geographic space, and you'll be able to do that very easily in Power BI. And besides just the built-in visuals that Power BI provides, you also have the ability to use custom visuals, which are third-party visuals that allow you to visualize data pretty much in any way that you'd like to. You'll be able to find a custom visual that fits the needs of your project. And then on top of just visualizing that data with these visuals, you also have the ability to write custom code in the background of Power BI to really bring out some great insights about your data set. And then once you've built that report, you've visualized all the data that you'd like, you can share those reports and dashboards with other members of your organization. So you publish it up to your own personal web portal, your Power BI web portal, and then you can initiate that sharing to specific members of your organization or your entire organization. You can choose to either share reports to allow end users to only view them, or you can give them edit access as well in case you want to collaborate with other users. And then one other key point is the ability to package these pre-existing solutions. Like once you finish a Power BI file, you can package it up and make sure that it's good to go. And then you can share it with your entire organization in the form of what's called an app within Power BI. So it will allow the user to easily install it and view that directly from a mobile application as well. And with that, that's kind of the entire lifestyle of building a Power BI solution, from connecting to that data, to modeling it, to visualizing it, and publishing it up to a portal. Now we're going to show you a few examples in order to kind of get your head wrapped around some of the solutions that we've put in place here at Tangent. And we're going to take you through one Microsoft solution as well, and just to kind of give you an idea of what you might want to do with your organization's data based on what we've already put together. So I have a few links here to reports that we've put together. I'm just going to open up this other screen. So this is, I'm actually going to do this first one here and navigate to our first tab. Bear with me while I make this full screen. Okay, so this is the first report that we put together centered around fire department data. This first page is giving that organization an idea of how they are performing compared to some of their key metrics. For example, we have 9 gauges on this screen that are showing us anything from processing time less than 90 seconds. It's basically saying 91.7% of the time they are reaching their goal of processing these incidents within 90 seconds. They have a gauge on if their paramedic calls were handled within 450 seconds, and we see that they're hitting that 83.9% of the time. We've also conditionally formatted this to show that if they're hitting their target, it shows in a nice green, and if they're a little bit less than that range, we're showing it as yellow. And then finally, if they're really nowhere close to where they'd like to be, it's showing up as red. So this gives the organization a very quick view of how they're performing compared to their metrics, but also keep in mind that we could create this report for any organization to view any metrics that are important to that organization. So really the real power behind Power BI is the ability to filter down your data set to see specific views of that data that you'd like to see. For example, we have slicers, or what's called slicers on the page. They're basically filters, and these are going to allow you to filter down your data set in order to see a specific view. For example, we have a year filter up here in case we wanted to filter down to just a specific year range to see what was happening at that time. We also have filters here on the right side to break down our incidents by homeless or non-homeless incidents. For example, if we click on yes for homeless, we'll see how our data has now changed. We filtered down our data set to only show us homeless incidents, and we actually see that our processing time has now fallen out from that higher threshold, and we're now in the more intermediate threshold. I guess just those processing times are just a little bit slower. We also could do that looking at non-homeless incidents and just see how we're performing there. And we also have the ability to filter on incident category as well. So their incident data was categorized based on fire, overpressure, rescue EMS, and others. So we can specifically select fire incidents and see how we're performing against those incidents. We see that a few gauges don't really makes sense compared to fire calls. For example, paramedic calls will not be categorized as fire incidents, but we do have data for the other visuals here. And we see that for the fire category, we see that processing time is a little bit low. So that might raise some questions as to what might be going on there. With that, that's pretty much the first tab, just to give a high level overview of their data and see what's really going on. And then we can go on to the second tab, which is a more detailed view. One second, let me navigate. There we go. Which is a more detailed view of some of their underlying data. So just from top left to bottom right, we have some filters up here at the top. You can filter by day. So if I wanted to see incidents that are coming in on Fridays, we can filter that down and see how our report changes to incidents that came in on Fridays, or we can multi-select and maybe have a kind of weekend range here and just see all of the data that's coming through in that date range. We have the same year range slicer here in case we don't want to see specific data points based on year. We can filter it down that way. I'm going to get rid of our slicer selection on the day of the week. Then we have some other high-level metrics to give them a quick idea of what's going on here. For example, this data set was updated in January, so that's why our incidents are a little bit lower than previous years. We see that at that point this year, they had 358 incidents coming in. Incidents prior year was in the 4,000, so that's probably what they'll end up at the end of this year. Homeless incidents this year, 26. We can make a quick calculation for incidents per day just based on this number, and then projected incidents by the end of the year if the year were to trend exactly like this. Given that we're already in April, that projection is a little bit low, but if we were to refresh this data set, it would probably be closer to where they ended up with incidents prior last year. We also have a couple other visualizations on the page, such as a pie chart here in the bottom left, which splits up the count of incidents by category type. So we see that rescue EMS is making up most of the incidents that are actually coming through. We can click on that section of the pie chart and filter down the rest of the page. And we also see we have a donut chart here on the right that's showing us our incidents by district. So if we wanted to couple both the selection on the rescue EMS category as well as the district, we can then control click and really filter down even further. So now we have those two selections taking place, and we see how that is showing in our data. So I'm going to unselect those. We have a couple of charts up here on the top. This top one is a representation of how many incidents occurred throughout the year, comparing all years together. There's a lot of years here, so I'm going to filter this down to just a few. So if I'm looking at 2017, 2018, 2019, and the current 2020, we see that they all pretty much trended the same way. Let me go ahead and take, let's say, our fire category and see if that'll split those up a little bit. We do see that 2019 was a little bit higher in the fire category, and maybe that might raise questions as to why. Maybe it was a hotter year, a lot of wildfires or something similar. And then we have another line chart here on the right. I'm going to go ahead and extend this date range. So this is a standard area chart that's showing us our incident counts, but this does give us the ability to drill into the specific years to get down to the quarter level, get down to the month level and the day level. For example, if I wanted to look into 2019, which was our highest year, we can right click here and expand to that next level. And we can now look at our quarter level. I'm actually going to expand back up. I'm going to drill up and actually expand in a different way. I'm going to show next level, and we're now down to the quarter level. So we see that 33,000 incidents came in quarter one, but quarter two was smaller. We see that it's 32,000, but it rises much higher in the quarter three and quarter four. We can drill into that highest quarter and see what might be going on there. So if we show next level, we see that most of our incidents were made up in December. So something may have happened in that month that might have been causing a lot more incidents. And then finally, we have one more visualization here on the bottom that is showing our incident count versus last year. So our green bar is our incident counts as of this year. So remembering that we're in January at this point, compared to last year. So that's kind of where we'd expect January to end up, compared to all of the previous year's average as the line chart with those data markers. So that's kind of giving us a view of how we're doing this year versus last year versus all the previous years within our selection, which we can then filter down to get a more representative view of averages over the last few years. So a lot of different ways to slice and dice this data to get exactly the view that you might be looking for. And then finally, we have one more tab, which is a very cool representation of how these incidents were taking place by location. So we have it running on a little loop here. So we see that over the years, this is how these incidents have have occurred via a heat map over that city. And we can see a small shift in these incidents as they came through. When showing the client this, they were able to understand a lot of how these incidents were popping up, and it gave them a lot of ideas as far as where they were going to place their next fire station. So this also has the ability to filter this down based on the slicers here on the right. If I were looking at homeless incidents, and then I believe for homeless incidents, they only have data for a couple years, so we will see how this steps through. So 2018, we see a little bit of a shift between those years. A more indicative view might be with fire incidents. We can step through those again. 2015, see it's kind of shifting downwards a little bit and just changing focus along those years. So they're able to make some insightful decisions based on just this single map view. And with that, that's our entire fire department solution that we've put together. Really, this is customizable to any metrics that you do care about in your organization or any different views. We could easily set that up with just a little bit of time. Then our next example is a more financial report that's going to give you a view of how Power BI can be used as a solution to track financial info and compare your budget versus actual. So this report, this tab is the executive summary tab. This is just a high level view of how the budget versus actual is trending over the current fiscal year that you have selected. There's also the ability to select multiple fiscal years at the same time and view them on a single graph here. If I go back and look at just a single year in the past, we can see how that year ended up compared to their budget. So for example, we have lines for our cumulative revenue and expenses over that fiscal year, which their fiscal year runs from July 1st through June 30th. And we see that they ended up below budget. We have some high level cards up here explaining just what those numbers actually ended up at the end of that fiscal period, such as budget, revenue, expenses, and they're favorable, color coded if they were in the green, or negative if they're in the red. They can slice based on fund or department if they choose to, such as finance. We can see how that budget versus actual was split down just for that specific department. And then with a couple extra added customized options, we have the ability to include encumbrances or include budget adjustments. So if we select no for budget adjustments, we'll see that that budget adjustment drops to 0. Just by adding a little bit of logic, we're able to customize it a little bit based on the views that they normally look at. So I'll turn that back to yes. Then moving our attention to the right over here, we see a couple of more donut charts showing our actual amounts by funds, by department. And again, you can click on anything you want and filter down the rest of the report to see maybe some anomalies in your data set. And you can navigate back and forth between actual and budget in order to get an idea of budget as well. So you can hide and show things in Power BI to really be able to save some space and make sure that you are able to maximize the location for the visuals that you'd like to show to your end users. Another really cool feature of this report is the ability to drill down from this higher level view to a low level detailed view to see those actual values that are happening behind the scenes. For example, if I were to drill into this wastewater category, I can right click and drill through to our general ledger accounts tab. And we see this nice matrix here that we can expand if we want to. So on the top, we have our fund, then our department, and we have our expenses versus revenue. We can drill all the way down to see the actual account that is making up these numbers here on the right. So for our main staff account, we see our budget, our final actual, our actual amount. So our difference between budget and original budget will be depending if we're including budget adjustments or not, or if we're including encumbrances or not. And then finally, we have our favorable at the end. And this is all rolled up into the previous level. So we'll see how those are added up to get to those higher levels. And one more level of drill through, we're able to actually drill into these actual values to see what's making up this 388,000. We can right click and drill through to our final tab. That's going to show those actual line items that made up that value and any encumbrances that might have been included there. So based on that, we're able to go from a very high level view to a kind of mid-level understanding of the account level data. Then we can drill through to see the actual items. So that granularity is set at that each actual line item. So in case anyone, maybe some users might only care about the high level view, but some users might also want to drill all the way down to make sure that they're able to see just what's actually coming through in those numbers. And then finally, we have one more example for you. Once I full screen, this is a COVID-19 tracking report, and I'm going to make sure that we have the full view here. Let me go ahead and reset this. So I am drilled into Ohio. I want to back out, give you a full view of the country. So this is a report that was put together by Microsoft, but it's a very nice report that's tracking the COVID-19 cases and deaths across the US, where you can drill into each state and each county. So this is giving you a nice table here on the left, listing out all of the states and showing you the confirmed cases, total deaths, and case fatality rate. If we were to just drill into California, for example, we can see California selected here, and we can see how these cases have come in each day. So we see that massive spike here towards the beginning of April, and then deaths as well. We can filter this down if we only want to see a small subset of that data set. We also have the ability to look at these graphs based on a cumulative view instead of a new daily cases view. So if we were to click that option, we've effectively switched our view to see our cases coming through on a cumulative basis. So we'll see this continue to rise over time. This report also gives you the functionality to drill into the county level. So if we right click on our California and drill through to our county view, we are able to see all of the different county level data and see that Los Angeles County is making up the bulk of the cases in California, while you can find your county here and just filter down our data set here on the bottom right to see how that county specifically is doing. So that's pretty much this COVID-19 report. There's a lot of fun interactive pieces of this report, but we can expand on this if you want to get a little bit deeper into this data and maybe some more interesting metrics to show to your county. We could definitely code some things in there. And with that, those are 3 examples of Power BI reports, and how fun it can be to click around and get down to some deeper data. With that, I will turn it over to Nina with some questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Parker. That was all really great information. To quickly wrap up, if you're currently using Power BI, just getting started, or you want to learn more, we do have a number of really great resources for you. First, you can sign up for our Power BI tutorials, which are hosted by Parker himself, and those will get sent directly to your email each week. These 3 to 5 minute videos are a great way for you to learn how to do things like create gauge reports like the one shown today, conditional formatting to quickly comprehend your data, or even add an emoji for a little bit of fun. We also have our Fast Dash program, which is a free 14-day trial of several pre-built reporting templates. All you have to do is just download the template you want, connect to your data sources, and just start analyzing your metrics. Finally, we can also work with you to create reports and dashboards that are specific to your organization. Just email us at solutions@tangent.com, and somebody from our team will be in touch. With that said, thank you to everybody for joining us on today's webinar to learn more about Power BI for emergency services. We hope you found the presentation informative, and we look forward to having you again with us soon. Goodbye.